Oh, it'll give me a 3, 2, 1. All right, we are live.
Yay!
Let me make sure we're live in the right place. Okay, yes. All right. I'm so excited to welcome you into the Coven and to show up in this live video with me. So I want to share a little bit about who you are, and then you can share more too. So this is amazing plant-based chef, Lauren D'Agostino, who just became a published author of a cookbook. And we worked together in my Turbo Booster program with visibility and truth. And you had already been having great mentors before. And I love that we worked together like towards the finish line. So we're going to talk about your story and I'll ask you some questions, but always feel free if you feel an impulse to share something. The goddesses love to know your story.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, who are you? Like, what's your jam these days?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So I am now a plant-based chef, but former sugar addict, ice cream addict, totally like came from the pastry space. That's where my professional training is in. But after a number of years working in hotels and bakeries, doing cake decorating and all sorts of things, and eating all of those foods, of course, I'm the type of person who didn't like to take a lunch break and like kind of took pride in like, oh, I haven't eaten since like yesterday. So I let my health go by way of just not eating the right foods. And it's so true that it's so simple to build great health with great food, whatever that looks like for you. So kind of after seeing some things happening with my skin and my energy, I really took a look at what I was eating and I realized that I had to make some changes. And so I did over the course of several months, and then really just started to feel so much better. The vibrancy returned to my skin and to my energy, and I just felt happier, all sorts of things. And then my career kind of transitioned and pivoted along the way as well. So now it's really cool to be in the space I'm in, working privately with people, just sharing like my pure heart's work, sharing delicious vegan food with the world. So
cool. And it's like you just said so much amazing.
I know. I feel like I didn't say enough though.
Well, you said amazing things. And so I really want to just reiterate like sugar addict.
Yeah.
Baker, cakes, sugars. So where did you work? Like where were your jobs that you got to do that?
Yeah, I spent my 20s and I'm 30 as of last May. So just spent like literally the last 10 years fresh in my mind working like hell to find a company or a job or a career that really like lit me up, turned me on, all of that good stuff. So I worked for Whole Foods Market. I worked for Disney World. I worked for Universal Studios, for a couple of restaurants, Bar Louie, Cafe Tutu Tango. Down in Orlando, I worked for a bunch of restaurants around where I grew up. I worked towards the end of my 20s and kind of helping to pivot into what I'm doing now. I worked with a startup cafe as their founding chef de cuisine and writing the menu and the recipes and all of those things with the owner. So it was a really interesting progression from like crappy hourly job. I learned a lot working with Whole Foods too. Let me just say that they really opened my eyes to a different way of living. I wanted to work for them, I think, because at the time I was coming out of a retail career with a department store and pivoting into, the world of baking. I'm like, gosh, well, I've never worked in a bakery before. How am I like supposed to go and get a job at a bakery? So I thought, oh, well, Whole Foods, that's like part retail, part bakery. So I went with that and I was intrigued by natural living already. And that was about, I think, when I was 23, 24 maybe. And I learned a lot that I didn't learn in school. It was great to work there alongside what I was doing in training because, I mean, you learn the best, I think, in the real school of life, not necessarily by, by a profession or a certification or a title that you hold or something like that. So to anyone listening who is wanting to make a pivot or wanting to see if a passion could possibly be a career path, just get curious and start to ask people what they've done, or ask if you can help them or work for them or whatever. You never know who's looking for help. I worked with a juice bar and kitchen down in Florida, and I can only describe it as divine intervention that I even like saw the image of their logo. I have no idea, never knew where this place was or heard of them. And when I went for the interview, I was walking the wrong way down the street to the shop, but they were a juice bar and kitchen. And so I reached out, I said, "Oh, and kitchen, tell me more. I'm curious about that." And so we had a 2-hour conversation at the end. You know, they took me on. It was a small family run operation. And really that's the type of environment that I love to work in. I don't like all the rules and the structure of the corporate world. So it was a great kind of launch pad for me to experiment with some things, to learn some really great hands-on techniques of making awesome food, really great juice protocols and all sorts of things. And then, you know, it's been one of the main, I think, turning points for me in doing the work I'm doing now.
That's beautiful. I really want to just pull out the thread that, you know, certain ideas that we have as a human race is like, I want to do this big thing. And the big thing is so big that it's like, how am I going to have money or time? And so the big thing stays very far away. And what you're saying is just go get in the field, like go touch the things that you want to touch and be around. It could be a bookstore, a fruit stand, like it doesn't have to be so big.
Yeah.
Spending the time, you never know what that, I love that, you know, and the fact that you're so beautifully young and that you knew. So just any story that you want to share about being a little girl, like how did you know this was your passion? Because I think a lot of people don't know their passion. So like, what's there?
Yeah. So I always loved to bake or to just like make dinner for people. I used to watch when I was eating all the ice cream as a kid. I would watch the Food Network after school, a couple of episodes, you know, a couple of different people that I liked to watch. And then, you know, I always knew that I wanted to go to culinary school, but out of high school, I kind of lost the confidence in that. So I ended up kind of taking a little bit of a detour. But yeah, I always loved to show love through food. And I, you know, even, you know, being a little kid, like starting to cook my own soup or my own macaroni and cheese or whatever. And I would find a fancy bowl and I would put on the garnish, and then I would like set the table for myself, or, you know, for me and the babysitter or whatever. And I just always loved that. I loved to play restaurant, but like we served real food at my restaurant. You know, I would host dinner parties for my friends in high school. Yeah, I just always loved it. And so when I realized working in retail, I mean, it was a job I had right out of college. It was a great offer, kind of one of those, how could you say no? Or like, what else are you going to do? Like, I don't know. So I'll just do that. And that taught me a lot. It was wonderful. I mean, I worked nights and weekends, and now of course, that's the demands of the hospitality and of the food service world. So that's fine with me. I have so many friends who wonder, like, you want to work weekends? Are you crazy? Like, no, it's all I've ever known, truly. And I like having particular weekdays to myself, or, you know, it's just a different lifestyle, I guess. So anyway, that's a roundabout way of just saying, you know, I started in the baking world after I realized that retail wasn't what I wanted to pursue long term. I started in the baking realm because that's kind of where I left off, where I felt like my heart was alive. And it took, you know, a couple of years, and I did a ton of like cake decorating intensives, and I worked as a cake decorator for a while for Whole Foods Market as well, you know, built up the bakery business substantially in the store I was in. But I fell out of love with it. I guess it's almost like you date your career choices, and you kind of have to figure out by process of elimination, like, this one triggers me in this way, this one supports me in this way, I like the friends or the people that I'm around when I'm in this career, this one's toxic, this, you know, whatever. And so you just, by way of trying a bunch of stuff on, you figure out which ones don't work or which ones did work and taught you something, and then you integrate that lesson, and then you can move on. So it's just been a series of that, I guess, for myself. Yeah.
Okay, I love that metaphor of dating. Because
Yeah.
I used to work with kids with autism, and then they were done with me. And it's kind of like that. It's like, we dated, it's over. Now I'm working with, I love that. And I love that you have so much wisdom in there. And I encourage everybody who's watching, even on the replay, that when you hear something that Lauren says, to just type it. as a way to highlight it for yourself, because there's specific women I'm thinking of here that are like, how do I know my purpose? How do I know? And for some people, it's really clear. And for others, just go date your purpose for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's February. So that's a good one.
Perfect. I know. I
Yeah.
do have one thing I want to say to the people who are like, I have no idea what is my purpose. For me, I think it finally clicked. And I had this conversation with my brother the other day. When you can talk about something or the way that you serve people, and you want to tell every single person you come in contact with, you want to tell the gas station attendant, you want to tell the person who just helped you set up a bank account, you want to tell the person you're like returning something at the store and the line is really long and you just can't shut up about this thing. That's when you know. And that's kind of where I'm at. And it's super cool because it just comes out like verbal vomit, but it's like much more articulate and eloquent, and people are really jazzed and excited to hear what you do, but it takes a while of figuring out what that thing is. So all the things that I've kind of mentioned before are clues to help with that for sure.
Great. And then showing up, like you can't
Totally.
do it just the talking and the sharing in your head.
Yeah.
The gas station attendant, like those guys are important, those people, but showing up, getting a part-time job, like you never know. And then I want to ask you this and then tell us about your cookbook. We have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
How did working at Whole Foods, like what's your relationship now after you graduated and you're like, okay, we're going to break up. This isn't working. The metaphor. How did you, because you're a doTERRA represent, what is it? Like seller. I don't know how to say
Wellness advocate. Yeah. This is a fancy term. Yeah.
Okay. And so the two things I want to give, so we have enough time, is like, how did your relationship with Whole Foods, which is a healthy wellness place, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your relationship with them? And how did you get your cookbook idea started?
Yeah, good questions. So I love Whole Foods. I think I always have felt like Whole Foods is like, this is going to sound really weird for a grocery store, but it's kind of like going home for me. Like if I'm out of town and I feel uncomfortable or I'm not sure where I can go to get something to eat that I'm happy with, I try to find a Whole Foods. It feels very comfortable for me to be there. And that's not true of a lot of people. But I left because I just outgrew the opportunities there. I knew that I was destined for something more, for something of my own doing. And it's been scrappy. It's been messy. It's been all sorts of things. I won't lie or coconut sugarcoat it. But it was really important to take that courageous first step and say, this isn't working for me. I've got to find something else. So that's what I did. I had somewhat of a plan, but not really. I always tried to remember, like particular people or particular roles that I held maybe within Whole Foods. And like, I never was afraid to reach out to someone to say, hey, I'm Lauren. We worked together in this capacity. I think you're great, or like something, and then like, this is what I'm up to now. Who do you know who can help me, is looking for that, is whatever. People love to help you if you know where you need help. Yes. And I have really become unapologetic in asking for help. And it feels so good to receive the help, right? Like everyone wants to give and help and be of service because it's what makes us feel good on that pure primal level, right? To feel needed. And people can't get that if you don't ask clearly what it is that you need. So that was kind of part of it. And I still have some great relationships with people that I know from Whole Foods, and they were really, really pivotal in helping me kind of discover what parts I liked about the job that I wanted to bring forward. And a good example is, I just recently wrote a post about this on my Instagram, but someone I used to work with, much older guy than me, there was maybe like 30 or 40 years between us, and maybe 30. Yeah. Cause I like forget how old I am. So maybe 20 or 30 years between us. Right. So he, his name is Max. He's from Puerto Rico. And he used to always joke and say, oh, I speak 1.5 languages, Lauren, 1 Spanish, half English. And so he would help me with my Spanish and I would help him with his English. And all the while he always held such an even keeled, positive, sunshiny attitude, always laughing and cracking jokes and dancing, and just the energy that he brought into the kitchen really made an impact on me. And when he wasn't there, when he would be on vacation, like I would really miss him because he was just so fun to be around. It didn't matter what was going on. It was just fun, and it was easy. And I knew that I wanted to bring that back into whatever career going forward. Like, I knew that we crossed paths in that moment for a reason. And as difficult as it was to break away from that role because of those things, like, I didn't want to grow in that position anymore. I didn't want to live in Florida anymore. So I had to end the relationship ultimately, right? And so just in looking back on kind of what I'm creating now, this business and this life that I'm falling in love with, fun is such a huge component, right? It's like, I don't want to just live in and have the phrase like, oh, have fun. It's like, no, I want to always be having fun. I want to just live in that space.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's kind of a roundabout way of coming to that answer. I guess I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, you're giving so much. You're so generous.
Yeah.
And even, we worked together was for you to have more visibility in your life. And the one thing I want to share that you said to me that I feel so love is what you just said, which was like, how can I do this with more fun, in different words. But, it's one thing to be successful, make money, be known, but like, who cares if you're just creating another job versus like, how can this be fun? So tell us, where can we get your cookbook? Like, I'll put the link, but maybe then I'll just leave that. What do you love about your cookbook? Like, why is it different? What's exciting? What's fun about it? Yeah. What's fun about it?
Yeah. Oh, good question. So the book is on Amazon, but I'll send you the link for posting, or just post it in the comments there too. What I love about the book is how colorful it is, how vibrant it is, how inspiring it is. I just got a message from a family member who just received hers in Florida, and she said just that, like, it's beautiful. I'm so inspired. She's like, I haven't enjoyed flipping through a cookbook in a very long time. Like, thank you. This is such a beautiful resource, because cookbooks are part recipe collection, of course, but how many cookbooks do you have that you have cooked every single recipe and it's your Bible and you like live by it? No, at least I can say that for myself. Like, I'll cook maybe a handful, but I have it mostly for inspiration and mostly to look at, or to like have a piece of that author at home with me, as I'm crafting menus for various things, for retreats or for private events or whatever. So I wanted the book to be part inspiration for just healthier, more vibrant plant-based living in general. That's why it's so colorful, but also to be really inspiring and really help people realize the potency and purity of essential oils and how they can harness their power for convenient flavor, right? So many people think plant-based or vegan food is flavorless, that it's like tofu and sprouts and Bibb lettuce, but it's so much more than that. And these recipes in the book really highlight that. And they're so versatile. I mean, you don't have to be vegan or completely plant-based to use them. Because they're so versatile, you can put them on anything. You can use anything in the marinade and whatever, you get the idea. But it's really organized and thought out as a essential oil reference book to celebrate the flavor of these different oils that we're so blessed to have on this planet. But then also, in a recipe that's easy, in a recipe that kind of, invites some familiar flavor into your world. So many people also think that plant-based or vegan is going to be like full of weird food and like all kinds of things that they don't know about. And this book really includes things that people know, like lentil meatballs or cheesecake or pasta dishes or
I can't wait for mine to arrive.
Yes, I can't wait to send it to you.
And one thing that we did together that you like took off and ran with was your challenge in your group.
Yeah.
Also post your group because you're so generous. And so what the cookbook is it's plant-based foods with essential oils.
Yeah.
And that is so cool. And the way you add essential oils, like using the tool, I don't want to give all your secrets away or any of them, but it's so cool because it feels very witchy and magical. And that's why I tend to be in this group with you here, because when you're in the kitchen and you're adding your goodies and you're like, ding, 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 it's so fun to be like grabbing oils and putting them in with health benefits. And I'm just so proud of you. And I love what you represent in the world and your joy. It's gorgeous.
Thanks.
Anything you want to wrap or close or anything you want to share with people?
I don't know. This was such a good conversation. I love looking at it like it is like alchemy kind of in the kitchen. And I wrote an essay in another book that I was part of through my publisher, where I wrote about the intuitive kitchen and creating alchemy, and kind of how that pertains to now like my life purpose. So I can put the link for that book as well if people are curious to read, and I'll probably post some excerpts from that essay in my blog. But every single time we go to create a meal for ourselves, we have an opportunity to infuse such high energy and nourishing vibrations and healing and love and all of that, and it translates through our hands into the food, and then we take that into our bodies. And outsourcing that, or giving that very sacred, very, very special transfer, giving that away too easily or too often to fast food, to processed food, to even to a lot of restaurants. I mean, think about like the classic image of a chef. They're high stress, they're yelling, they're like all Gordon Ramsay up in the space, like, and you get that energy into your food. So it's just like food is self-care, really is the big message, I think, for what it is I want to share. And food is fun and flavorful, and everyone's invited to this plant-based party. Yeah.
You're amazing. And to Lauren, she does retreats and she cooks at retreats. So if you're in this group and you're like, oh, I'm going to a retreat and they don't have a chef, like contact Lauren. And if you have an idea, like she's really good at alchemizing it into something where you can contribute. So be friends. Yeah. Be friends. All right, sister. And I welcome any ideas, any contributions you want to do in this group. Always are welcome.
Thank you.
And I'll post your goodies. And thank you for showing up. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, you too. Much love. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.